Sure, this is the Pippin Street poll cam. So y'all maintain your objection.
Maintain the objections made in the Green Girl hearing. Under the motion to strike the reading. As far as it not being legal, also the any photograph of January 16th, make the notice, the extra notice objection. It's not given in 10 days.
I understand. Ms. Wright, same position for Mr. Richardson?
Yes, Your Honor.
I've already ruled on that, as has been indicated. These are merely still photos from that same camera. So with those objections noted, these photographs can be admitted into evidence as the next appropriate exhibit number.
Yes, Your Honor, and then for the record, it's 19E as in Edward through 19N as in Nancy. I'll do this thing over. 19E. Yes, they are. I'm sorry. 19E, 19F, 19G, 19H, 19I, 19L, 19M as in Mary, and 19N as in Nancy. That's the next number of exhibits. Because we had two that were already marked into evidence.
Right. Now those, the description has poll camera video. These are actually still photos from that video.
Yes, sir. I indicated in the block above that these were photographs and videos, I believe, in the description, I think. I didn't.
Says,
Photographs. Okay, so I did a big, so I didn't have to type it every single time. These are photographs and videos leading up to that.
let's see. All right. So, and while those are being marked, can you give me the numbers?
Yes, Judge. So there would be 474 through 478, and then 479 through 481. And that's starting with 19E and going down.
All right. Now, also, before we bring in the jury, there was some evidence introduced or referenced yesterday by stipulation they were coming in, but I did not make an announcement that those exhibits have been entered. I want to clarify that, so can we discuss that next?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we could, I believe that the last, I think I did 413 was the last number that I ended with. I did not, okay, so the clerk is informing me that I stopped at 398, which would have ended, the ID numbers as 16H. And then at this point, 16I, which was 399, through 6T. As far as Henry Hayes is concerned, those would be numbered consecutively based upon the court's ruling. This is a little bit more complicated when we get to this area. As it relates to 16M as in Mary, the state of Florida agreed not to introduce that in Richardson's case. And then as it relates to 16P, the video from Henry Hayes' cell phone, which is a cell phone video with Henry Hayes with red pants and guns. The state of Florida did not introduce that one against Richardson. So his numbers would be so I'm going to get the report. So for Henry Hayes, it's easy. So from 398 to 410, it's been marked consecutively. And then 16U has been entered in over the defense objection is 411. 16B is in Victor, has been entered in Hayes as 412. 16Z was a murder scene map that was entered in as, I'm sorry, let me find 413. 17A is 413. 17B was 414. 17L, which are the medical examiner photos, have been marked all the way through 17L through 18F. It's 415 through 435 consecutively. (18G) through 18L have been marked consecutively. There are 2 objections lodged at 18K and 18L, so this has been held aside. The video photographs have not come in yet. The full time videos, I believe that we have already discussed 19J and K are 447, 448, 19O and P, 450, 451, 19Q, 442 through 19U, 446. (17C) came in as 453. 17D came in as 454. And I believe the clerk may have some additional items I've marked in on this list.
So, the ones we entered, 19W, there was 20J, those are 459 to 473.
19J.
19B to 20J, sorry. 19 through 20J is those that we just mentioned, which were 459, 473.
But those, I'm talking about the ones that haven't been addressed in the record, so we've already addressed those. Are there any additional that we didn't address? 19J and K. Okay. I believe those were entered with Jordan Harris, is my recollection. But I'm sorry. I know, but those were subject to objection. There was no objection. We offered those, and then there was no objection. I believe the court entered those on the record with Jordan Harris, is my recollection. But the 19J and K came in as 447 and 448. And Your Honor, at the end, we addressed the Richardson because it's a little bit more confusing to make sure that we number them consecutively.
You mean more confusing than what it's been already?
No, just that his numbers are going to be off from Hayes.
I know. I'm ready to bring the juries in.
Yes, sir.
We're 5 minutes late. All right, y'all can take your seats. Thank you. All right, we're ready to continue on with the trial. Ms. Kite, you may continue.
Sir, I was asking you about different members of 187, and if you're familiar with all of those members, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In your work and through your investigation, do the members of 187 use social media in order to post pictures of themselves wearing gang paraphernalia or clothing.
Yes, it's a way to promote their gang or affiliation.
Okay. Showing you what's been marked for identification as 19B, but is now 459 in evidence. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you recognize the individuals in that photograph?
I recognize several, yes.
Who?
To the right, you have Reginald Ducey Williams.
You can circle him.
Okay, I'm sorry. Reginald Ducey Williams here, little man, Lawrence McCauley. And then you have, that is Avery McKnight Shug.
Okay. And the clothing that we see with them on, this is before Avery McKnight died, is that right?
Correct. This was the around the beginning of their creation.
Okay, so this is around the beginning.
Correct.
And they would wear shirts called 187 Boys.
Yes.
And then on Reginald's shirt, it looks like gang shit.
Yes, that's correct. That's what it is.
Showing you State's Exhibit 9W for identification, but is now 460. Do you recognize that individual?
Yes, that's Avery Shug McKnight, little Shug McKnight.
Okay. And again, is he wearing the types of shirts that they would typically wear?
Yes, ma'am, they would.
Are you familiar with that hand sign?
Yes, that's the hand sign for 1200 block.
And how do they get that out of this?
The finger, your pointer finger is the 1, and then these are the 2 for 1200.
Okay. State's Exhibit 9X, it was marked for identification, but now it's 461. Who is that?
That again is Avery Little Shug McKnight.
Wearing the common shirt that they will wear in their creation?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Showing you what was marked as 19Y is 462 now in evidence. Do you recognize these two individuals?
Yes, that's Reginald, again, Ducey Williams. I believe that's Avery McKnight again.
Circle Reginald Williams. All right, and that hand sign that he's using, what is he doing?
Again, it's representing 1200 block.
State's Exhibit 19Z, is this a photograph taken at the video that I said F the city at earlier?
Yes, it is.
Okay. At this point in time, had Shug, Avery McKnight, had he died at this point?
Yeah, he was deceased at this point.
Did they change from the shirts that we saw earlier, the 187 Boys, to something different?
Correct, yes, they were utilizing Shug Nation is what they were adopting at that time.
Okay. So they were calling themselves Shug Nation
Correct.
after Shug McKnight?
Yes, to memorialize Avery McKnight's death.
Okay. I'm circling an individual with a camo shirt and a gold picture on it. Do you recognize first that person with that shirt on?
Correct, that's a little man, Lawrence McCauley, and he's wearing a shirt with Avery McKnight on his face on the front of it.
Okay, so did they change from the 187 Boys to this picture of Shug McKnight?
Correct, yes, they did.
Okay. And I'm going to circle here at the bottom, this individual.
Yes.
See, they're wearing it on their shirts, on their pants.
Correct,
Okay, and they call themselves Shug Nation.
it is correct.
Are they throwing multiple gang signs in this photograph?
Yes, they are.
Showing you State's Exhibit 464. Who's in this photograph?
Again, it's Reginald Williams and Avery McKnight.
State's Exhibit 465, which was 20B before. Do you recognize these individuals?
Yes, correct, they're all part of 187 1200 block.
Okay. Who's this in the middle of the photograph?
That is going to be Noah Williams,
Or twin?
twin, correct.
Who's this at the bottom of the photograph?
Avery McKnight,
Who's this in kind of the forefront of the photograph?
Reginald Williams.
And remember, I talked about Jawan Hazelton earlier?
Correct, Jawan, yes.
Who is that?
That's Lawrence McCauley,
Or Lil Man?
little man, correct.
Are they some of the prominent members besides Jawan Hazelton?
Correct, they're the-
Quinn, Ducci, Little Man, and Suge, some of the prominent members of 187.
Correct, they're always in the forefront of everything, whether it's social media, pictures, or the rap videos.
State's Exhibit 442, are you familiar with that location?
Yes, ma'am, that's the yellow store that they congregate at on a regular basis.
Okay, and is this yellow store in close proximity to where Avery died?
Yes, it's 1 block away from there.
State's Exhibit 443, another photo of the yellow store?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I want to pay attention to this area here. It looks like some type of advertisement of some sort in front of the window.
Yes,
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 20C or 466. Are they standing in front of that same area that I circled in the previous photograph?
yes, ma'am.
A little bit different advertisement, but same area.
Correct.
Who's in this photograph?
You have Avery McKnight, Reginald Williams, again, are standing in the background.
Okay. And are they throwing 1200 block?
Yes,
Showing you 20D or 467. Are they by the yellow store again?
again, yes, they are, but they're on this would be the east side of the store.
And is this Ducci or
Correct.
Reginald Williams?
Correct, that's Reginald Williams.
Suge McKnight?
Yes,
Lawrence McCauley?
correct.
Who's this?
And that's Miyake Razor.
Who's this?
I believe it's going to be Noah, but I can't really tell.
Oh, he's
With
got
his-
his face hidden?
With the hands in his face.
Okay. State's Exhibit 20E, which is now 468. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
Okay. Is this Lil Man or Lawrence McCauley?
that is,
Is this Jamari Brooks?
yes, ma'am.
Is that Reginald Williams?
That is correct, yes.
Showing you 469, which was 20F. Is that Reginald Williams and Avery McKnight holding guns?
That is correct, yes.
State Exhibit 446, are you familiar with that location?
Yes, that's the house that Cameron Thomas occupied.
Okay. And Cameron Thomas's, I guess, part of that house is on the right-hand side,
Correct, it was a duplex, and he had the right side.
right? And then I wanted, is there a stoop with some white bricks with a small chain link fence on the left side?
Correct, there is, yes.
But would they hang out all over this front of this house?
Front, back, side, yes.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 20G or 470. Is that stoop area that I circled in the other part of the house?
That is, yes.
All right. Is that Cam?
That is Cameron, yes.
All right. State's Exhibit 20H, which is now 471. Who is that in that photograph? And is that at Cam's house?
I'm sorry, what'd you say at the end?
Who is in that photograph, and is that at Cam's house?
Yes, this is the front of Cam's house, which would be his side of the structure, and then this would be Reginald Williams holding the axe, and then Avery McKnight to the side.
And then showing you State's Exhibit 472, which was 20I. Is this Reginald Williams?
That is, yes.
And you indicated earlier that 187 is associated or kind of blended with 1200 block?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So this shirt that he has is a little bit obscure. That's the 187 logo.
Yes, correct, that's their logo.
And then it has a reference to 1200.
Correct.
And what used to be 20J, showing the witness, State's Exhibit 473. Can you identify who's in that photo?
Left to right, you have Reginald Williams right here. You'll have Avery McKnight, Little Man, Lawrence McCauley. You have Man, Leonard Andrews, and you have Noah Williams. And I'm not sure of the name on the last subject.
Okay. Now, I want to, if you were standing at the yellow store and looking out, is this the view you would have of these apartments in the back?
Correct. Those are Oakland Terrace apartments coming out of the yellow store.
Okay. So this is documentation of this is their territory or area?
Correct. It's very well known throughout the city. That's their area.
Okay. And where Suge died, is that literally just right next to this location that we have in this particular picture?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's just on the other side of the apartment complex.
Okay. All right, maybe briefly the first sidebar.
Yes, ma'am. Do we need the court reporter?
I don't believe so.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have an instruction for you about the evidence you're about to see. The evidence you are about to receive concerning other crimes, wrongs, or acts allegedly committed by the defendants will be considered by you for the limited purpose of proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, and you shall consider it only as it relates to those issues. However, the defendants are not on trial for any crime, wrong, or act that is not included in the indictment. Ms. Scott, you may continue.
Thank you. Knowing what you knew about their locations that they would commonly hang out in, did you, as an investigative tool, place a poll cam up looking at one of those locations?
I did, yes, the 1148 Pippin Street address.
Okay. And when you put that poll camera up, are you, as the investigator of this particular gang, able to operate it and view it remotely?
Correct. I can rewind it and look back at what was recorded from the past, and then I can also watch it live.
Okay. Did your poll camera capture an incident at the Yellow House on January 16, 2016?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
And what did it capture?
A drive-by shooting.
Okay. Just prior to that shooting, were there members of the group 187 that we've gone over at that house just prior to the shooting?
There was, yes.
Okay. And was that shooting on January 16th ever reported to the police?
No, it was never reported.
I had just a minute. Your Honor, may I publish what's been entered as case exhibit 397?
You may.
While I'm inserting this disc and switching out the media, can you explain just a little bit about how you're able to operate it, and when you, in fact, capture this, were you monitoring it at this point in time?
Correct. It's a remote camera that's covertly and stealthy put in an area where we can capture a particular location. At this point, we captured the house in question. I can, again, rewind it. We have controls that we're able to use that will allow us to pan in, pan out, in, zoom out to try to get better pictures. A lot of it, you'll find that you'll see skipping within the video itself. The skipping is put in because if we don't put, what it'll do, the breeze will catch like wires and trees, and there's nobody outside, so we try to allow its sensitivity to pick up bigger objects like people and cars. If we don't do that, then it's going to take up a system or a hard drive or multiple hard drives. So we try to limit the amount of video that's captured onto a hard drive. So we bring down the sensitivity for that reason.
Okay. I've loaded it up. We're looking at the poll camera. Do you recognize this video?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to look at it prior to coming to court?
Yes.
And I'm going to play or publish State's Exhibit 397 at this time, Your Honor. I'm going to pause this video at 10:12:45. The 10:12:45, is that the time of day?
Yes, that's morning time, a.m.
Okay. And that white car is driving by the yellow house at this point in time?
Correct, it is.
Is it going the opposite direction at the time of the shooting?
Yes, it's going
Back.
westbound at this point.
Okay. And because this camera is a little bit far away, and we should know what we're looking for, do you see something that indicates that that is in fact the shooting?
Nothing at this point that would.
No, but later on.
Oh, later on, yes. If you'll, as the vehicle comes back eastbound in the opposite direction, if you'll pay attention to like this area right here, you'll start to see like dust kicking up from where they're shooting at the subjects in the vehicle.
Okay. I'm going to play the video now.
This is the target vehicle in question that are victims of this shooting.
Okay, I'm going to pause it at 10:16:21 a.m. on this video. Is that, you said that car belongs to who?
Cameron Thomas, that was his rental car.
It was a rental car?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that just after the shooting there?
Yes,
Okay, and the dust was kicking up?
correct. As the vehicle went, right before the vehicle was going by, you can see dust kicking up from the driveway.
I'm going to play a slower version of that in just a second, but that black figure kind of on the outside of the hood, is that a 187 gang member?
Correct. That's one of the occupants inside the vehicle ducking from the shooting.
I'm going to play this video out, and then I'm going to play a slower version of the shooting itself. But what do they do after the shooting?
They park the car and kind of walk off like nothing ever happened.
Is that them walking off?
Correct, yes.
Are you able to see that person?
Yes, that's Cameron Thomas.
He's so like far away in this. Was he in the same outfit later on?
Yes,
You had contact with him?
I had contact with him several days later, and he was wearing the same exact outfit.
Okay. Okay. So that's how they act right after they got shot at?
Correct, like nothing ever happened. Like it's almost like a normal day for him.
Okay. Playing a slow version. In that slower version, can you see the dust?
Yes,
Coming in.
ma'am.
Did you leave this full camera up for some time on Pippin Street, even after this shooting was caught on there?
I did, yes, ma'am.
On January 18th, was there anything of note that you caught on the full camera?
Yes, ma'am. I started a live feed onto the camera from my actual residence due to the fact that we had the shooting. We caught several members outside the residence itself, and during that time, I was able to zoom in and capture Cameron Thomas, who is a convicted felon, stepping outside as they observed a vehicle with an AK-47, almost in a sense of getting ready to protect himself from a drive-by.
Just a moment, trying to locate the other video. While Mr. Hutton is locating that video, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Detective, let me show you State's Exhibit 476. I couldn't pause it in time. This is a photograph taken from that video. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that some type of person hanging out the side of that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, that is.
And that's after the shooting in Tom?
Correct.
That we just seen?
Correct.
I believe that we've seen this video before. I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing, but the zooming in and the zooming out that we see in the movement of the camera, you indicated that you were operating that live.
Correct. I was controlling it from my computer.
Okay. This individual that we have in State's Exhibit 447, are these the members of 187 at that yellow house?
It is. Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 448, is that Lil Man or Lawrence McCauley?
That is, yes.
Is that twin or Noah Williams behind him?
Yes.
On 19N, which is State's Exhibit 481, is that them congregating?
Yes, in front of the residents.
And did you find Ron Thomas with a firearm, or did you see him with a firearm on that day?
Yes, on that day, yes.
And so did you use this video to help arrest him?
Correct. We utilized the video for a search warrant and arrest warrant.
Did you leave that poll camera up on January 29th, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the day that you were, I guess, notified to help in the investigation of the death of Aiden McClendon?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, if I may publish State's Exhibit 399.
You may.
have you had an opportunity to view the poll camera video prior to coming to court as it relates to January 29th, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, the time that's at the top of that video, does that indicate the time of day that this happened?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Is this a military time?
Yes, it is. It would be 6:01.
Okay. And that white car that just drove by, it drove by at 6:01?
Correct.
Your camera, does it capture the lighting on the day at 6:01?
Yes, it does.
All right. So I didn't pause that video, but I'm referring back to State's Exhibit 450 that's been admitted. Is that a still shot of that car driving by that house on Pippin Street approximately, actually at 18:01:43?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 451, the same car driving past that house.
Correct, yes.
And again, is this house located in close proximity to 710 Spearing Street?
Yes, like I said, several blocks as the crow flies.
You're familiar with the area, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it literally take minutes to get to 710 Spearing Street?
Yeah, a minute or two, not too far.
All right. I don't have anything further.
All right, Cross?
The Florida statute on gangs has a number of factors, does it not?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
How a person dresses,
Correct.
whether they have the tattoos,
Yes, sir.
whether they're hanging around other documented gang members, is that
Correct.
right?
Associating with them. Yes.
There are other factors also, is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Type of clothing they're wearing,
Correct.
any other factors that I've missed?
You have the parent could tell us about them being involved in the gang. You have a confidential informant who gives you the information. You can be associating 4 or more times. There's associating with them, and then there's one where you're associating 4 or more times with the subject. You have a confidential source or informant who's untested reliability, and you corroborate that with additional information. Or they also have authored criminal acts for the gang as well.
In State Exhibit 468, in which Lawrence McCauley and Jamari Brooks was in it. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Jamari Brooks, is he a documented gang member of 187?
I'd have to go back and look at the documentation. I don't know at this point.
Do you have your documentation with you?
No, I do not.
He was certainly affiliating, at least in that picture, with
Yes, sir.
gang members of 187. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't have a memory of whether he's a gang member?
I've been away from the gang unit for over 1.5 years at this point. I mean, and so I have to see his documentation to see if it's there.
But he certainly met one of those factors, is that correct?
Correct. In a sense, yes.
And you need one of those factors to be affiliated, is that correct?
To be associated, correct.
Associate, right?
Correct.
He could have more factors and could actually be documented.
Yeah, if you have-
187 gang members, is that right?
You have one more criteria, then you meet as a gang member, yes.
And that would be in your documentation, is that correct?
Correct.
I have another question.
Mr. Wright, Amy Cross?
Good morning, Detective. You indicated that for that incident on January 16th, you had the poll cam, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it would be fair to say that you weren't there, is that correct?
Correct.
And you were just looking at that video just like the rest of us, is that also true?
That is true.
Now, obviously, that video is centered on that house, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So all you could see is what's on the video. You couldn't see just beyond the video, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you actually couldn't even see the entire house from the angle that you had it at that moment. Is that also true?
Correct. You're only catching it south facing north.
Now, you indicated that there was some dust kicking up at one point. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only information you have regarding whether or not there was a shooting at that house?
No, ma'am.
Is that the only information that you yourself have seen, that there was a shooting at this house?
I've seen, but I've gathered more intelligence after the fact that there was a shooting at that house.
On just the 16th or also on the 18th?
No, we effected a search warrant on that house on the 19th of January.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask to put sidebar before the witness finishes answering.
Well, do you have another question, Ms. Wright, on this, in this line of questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And no sidebar.
You're very familiar with that yellow house, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would agree they sell drugs there?
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated that in one of the videos, well, in the video, Jordan Harris was present, is that correct?
I never mentioned Jordan Harris at all.
Did you recognize a Jordan Harris present in one of the poll cam videos?
If I do, I don't, the only time I ever had any interaction with Mr. Harris was at the time of the shooting Adam McClendon. I've never seen or heard of him prior to that. That's the only interaction I've ever had with him.
And you also indicated that the person in the video was Cameron Thomas, I guess?
Yes, ma'am.
He goes by the name of Killer Cam, is that correct?
Killer Cam, yes.
Does he ever go by KK?
I mean, could it means KK for Killer Cam, yes.
I don't have any further questions.
Redirect.
Your Honor,
May this witness be excused?
I changed my mind.
And please proceed.
Yes. Sir, when you view shootings like this after the fact, and you said you gather intelligence later on, are the members that you're talking to, are they generally cooperative with law enforcement?
No, not generally. Some are, but not to the full extent. They're only going to give you bits and pieces, but to the most part, they're not.
Okay, so when you all are trying to make cases on this, are they uncooperative and not wanting to go any further than maybe talking to you off the record?
Correct, yes.
All right? Thank you. I don't have anything further.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Detective, you're excused, or Sergeant, you're excused.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, it's a longer witness. Do you want me to start it and then just, I'm happy to do that.
Well, it's never really a bad time to break for lunch, is it, ladies and gentlemen? It's a little earlier than yesterday, but I think this is a good time to do that since we got a long witness. So that's what we'll do. We'll break for lunch. Please remember not to discuss the case amongst yourselves or look up any information about the case. Let's be back promptly at 1 p.m. and we'll continue the trial this afternoon. Enjoy your lunch.